So Nancy Mace with us right now, South Carolina. Always good to see you, Congresswoman. Do you think a deal is close?
I hope and pray that it's close, but I hear from the reporting just now that there's some mixed messages going on here on Capitol Hill. It's sort of like being in college finals the night before, cramming, we're chugging Red Bull and doing this in the 11th hour. I mean, I don't know why we're doing this to ourselves. We've had months to address this problem, and as you know, Neil, this is a problem that's been caused by both sides of the aisle. They created it. They should fix it, and they shouldn't be doing it in the last minute like we are right now.
I did notice, Congressman, you're closer to this than I am, but the White House now sort of backing off the idea that it's a drop dead, we run out of dough on June 1st, saying, there's some wiggle room here, obviously trying not to alarm the markets. But if this drags on past June 1st, I think it's a foregone conclusion it will alarm the markets, right?
I do think it will alarm the markets, but we don't have to default. Even if the June 1st deadline comes and goes, we don't have to default unless the president wants to. In terms of tax revenues that the federal government receives, we get about 11 times the interest on the debt. Now, we'd have to prioritize spending, hold off paying some of the bills, but that wouldn't be veterans benefits or Social Security or anything like that. We would have to prioritize spending until a deal is done. But what I'm saying here is we've had months to do this. The president just left the country. If we're in such dire straits, why is he leaving? This is why 2024 is so important. We need a president who will be here to negotiate for the American people when push comes to shove and when we're on a deadline.
The former president says he's that president. He made a comment about the possibility of default in that CNN appearance, Congresswoman, that I did want to pursue with you. This is from Donald Trump last week.
I say to the Republicans out there, congressmen, senators, if they don't give you massive cuts, you're going to have to do a default.
You're going to have to do a default. What do you think of that?
Well, we don't have to do a default, but I do agree with the former president that we do need to see massive spending cuts. It's the reason that we have inflation. We also need tax decreases. We also need the Fed to stop printing money. That's the way that we pay for the deficit that we have. We need to fix our supply chain issues. There are a whole host of things that need to happen, but default should not be on the table at this time.
There's a back and forth, though, among how Republicans in general, Congressman, about how aggressive to be. There's a very vocal wing that aligns itself to the former president and those who are characteristically called rhinos or Republicans in name only. I raised that issue with Mitch Daniels, a former Indiana governor, served as George W. Bush's budget director, as you know, and he is a little sick and tired of this kind of Hatfield and McCoy approach to what makes a good Republican. I want you to react to this.
Okay.
I made up my own acronym one time, Neil, RIMO, Republicans in mouth only. People who never cut a tax, never shortened a government payroll, never deregulated anything, never reformed education or health care, but somehow feel entitled to dictate to others what the Republican Party is all about.
Now, without saying so, he was ripping MAGA Republicans, or not as an entire group, but that view that if you're not with them, you're a rhino, you're a phony Republican. What do you make of that?
Well, I've been labeled a rhino myself. I'm obviously not one. Actually, I was to the right of the Freedom Caucus on this debt ceiling deal because I didn't think the spending cuts were deep enough. But what we've got to do is ensure that we're being smart with the American taxpayer dollars, that we're bringing people together, that we're doing something. Some of those Republicans that call us rhinos are people that have never filed a bill, never had a bill signed into law, haven't done what they said they were going to do because they win by losing. At the same time, the left does the same thing. They win by fighting the right, and they get on Twitter and they tweet and they get interviews, but they're not doing anything for the American people. And what the American people want is they want results. You got to get results by building consensus and working and reaching across the aisle. As a conservative, I've had President Biden sign bills into law that Ro Khanna and I have worked on together and others, and I found a way to build that consensus, to build bridges, and to deliver results for the state of South Carolina. That's what all of us should be doing right now.
There's a crazy concept. Congresswoman, thank you very much. Good seeing you.
Yeah, working, right?
We're working. There you go.
Yeah.
Nancy Mace, the South Carolina